The workup's in the cabinet's hands. They said they'll call for us once they've gotten to properly review it. But listen, I know I should have been more forthcoming about who I was earlier. So, in the interest of full disclosure, there's one more thing you ought to know before we head up there. My relationship with the UC. It's more complicated than it might seem at first glance. The UC's actually the only reason I'm here in the first place. I am a clone of a man named Francois Sanon, one-time fleet admiral of the UC during the Colony War, former head of the UC Navy. They called him Ve Victus. Woe to the defeated, in Old Earth Latin. A title he earned. The program I was a part of, it was the UC's attempt to create a new generation of military minds from one of their most respected tacticians. Secure the leadership of the UC military for generations to come. I'm the last. A few of my siblings, they passed when we were young. Training accidents and the like. But most of the rest were deployed to the front lines during the Colony War, and they never came back. Not a day goes by where I don't think about what the world would look like with them still in it. He would have happily told you he was one of the greats. Ultimately, though, it didn't matter. The man I was cloned from, my father, was executed for acts he committed during the war. The man caused a lot of death, on both sides. Freestar Collective, and UC. Military, and civilians. And the things he did, well, they're a part of the reason the UC and Freestar Collective aren't really on great terms to this day. So my involvement, it could be another obstacle they throw at us up there. I just wanted you to be forewarned. I really appreciate you saying that. I just thought you deserved to know, considering how much you've done already. You know, while we've got a second, was there anything else we needed to discuss? I know you got dropped into the middle of this pretty fast. Or, if you've got any last-minute business to attend to, now might be a good time. No telling how long the cabinet's gonna keep us waiting out here. Eye strain from the amount of reading I've got on the horizon if we succeed. The Terramorph project never went anywhere. It couldn't. They're deadly creatures, but they aren't xenoweapons. The cabinet not opening the archives is probably a bigger risk than them handing over the files. That data itself isn't dangerous, which probably wouldn't be a bad point for us to bring up, should the opportunity arise. Well, thinking about it more, I suspect there'd be value in sharing the fact that the Terramorph project was, well, a failure. There's no need to be afraid of this data being weaponized. Knowing that should calm some of the cabinet's fears and make it easier for us to dispel any suspicions the other factions might have about our intentions. I mean, we never spent a lot of time together. He was too busy being Fleet Admiral to deal with kids. I was raised by a pair of guardians instead. Until his defeat during the Colony War, though, he was known as an extremely effective commander. Savvy. Perceptive. That mind opened a lot of doors for him. And for me too. But Ve Victus, for all his ability, was heartless. Ruthless to a fault. In the end, that's what cost him his life. Then I guess it's just a matter of...
The cabinet meeting is about to begin. All parties, please proceed to the cabinet chambers.
Ah, welcome. You must be the Captain Hadrian mentioned in her report. You have our thanks for the risks you faced in securing this information. Well, I'll be sure your commanding officer hears that you've done them satisfactorily. Now then, we have 2 petitioners here making a surprising request. Access to the UC Xeno Warfare Team's Terramorph data, currently housed in the Armistice archives. A request which will require not just this body's agreement, but that of all 3 Armistice signatories. UC, Freestar Collective, and House Varun. Now, Captain, we've all read Hadrian's report on the subject, but we have yet to hear from you. Perhaps you could summarize for the Cabinet what it is you see as the goal of this endeavor. That is something to consider. Though we also have to take into account the nature of the data you require.
Madam President, I object to the very premise of this meeting. While no one would argue that what happened on Tau Ceti was anything less than a tragedy, Terramorph attacks are not some sudden new threat on the horizon. They've been happening for generations. To demand we hand over banned archival knowledge and possibly upset the balance of galactic diplomacy because of a single attack seems at best panic. And at worst, a power grab by the daughter of a bloodthirsty warmonger and her associates.
I would remind the Chief Diplomat who he's speaking to. If it's my father you're looking to address, you're welcome to consult a medium. I would also ask, how many deaths the Cabinet requires to act? 50? 50,000? Because if tragedies like Tau Ceti are just prelude to more attacks, I have no doubt you'll get the body count you require.
Let's keep this civil, shall we? And while there should be no doubt the preservation of life stands paramount among this body's duties, Chief Essene has a point. Will a single attack, however troubling, be sufficient to convince the other factions to grant us access to what they no doubt consider weapon data? I don't think it's enough. Perhaps you can help, Captain. As the one who actually collected the sample in question, did this Terramorph seem at all alarming to you?
That is worth considering. This attack took place on an almost completely uninhabited world. The casualties were minimal as a result. But if there's another attack, will we be so lucky?
Yes, a fine point, Admiral. So then, Captain, given the discussion now and the information you've been privy to thus far, if you were in our position, would you grant the request made to open the archives?
It doesn't matter if it can be weaponized or not. The archives need to remain sealed for now. There's no reason to rush into a decision of this magnitude.
That? I hadn't thought of that, Captain.
An excellent point indeed. The other powers would likely be much more inclined to work with us knowing that. Chief Diplomat.
That point is a good one. Very well, you have my agreement. The galaxy is lucky you were here today, Captain.
You and I are in agreement, Chief Diplomat. So, if there are no other objections, I believe we can agree to give our full backing to make the request to...
An incident has occurred. Facility lockdown engaged.
Incident? Chief Sarkin, what's happening?
There's been an attack at the spaceport. Terramorphs.
Terramorphs. More attacks. Just as predicted.
Good God.
Damn it. They're here. Now.
There must be another explanation. The creatures evaded our scanner somehow.
There will be plenty of time for conjecture later. Chief Sarkin, order the evacuation of the spaceport and have your men contain the things, but do it discreetly. The last thing we need is a citywide panic.
Yes, ma'am.
Admiral Logan, the local barracks can provide support?
I'll make the order myself. Nearest anti-Xeno squad, though, is off-world. Going to take a while to bring them in.
Well then, we'll have to make do with the tools we've got. You two, we can't risk those things getting out of the spaceport. I want you both on the next train there. We'll let them know you're coming, and that you've dealt with these things before. Now go show them how it's done.
We're on it, ma'am. Captain, I'm right behind you. Let's get down there.
If you don't mind, I'd like to... Feel free to drop some stuff into my bag. Admiral Logan's office shouldn't be terribly far.
What are you doing? EM fire, Captain!
If you don't mind, I'll only carry the good stuff. Just kidding. Admiral Logan's office shouldn't be terribly far. Let's go.
Thank God you got here when you did. I just wish it hadn't come to that.
Yeah, what the hell happened back there, Captain? There's no excuse for using lethal force here. Sorry doesn't bring these people back. A crisis isn't licensed to cast aside your morals. Understand? Now, officer, the way those people were acting, I've seen this before. They were under the Terramorph's influence, weren't they?
I don't know. They were down at the port and they just started screaming. We tried to restrain them, get them on the train to get them out of harm's way, but some of the other officers down there, we couldn't restrain them fast enough. They just started firing on us. People we knew. They went berserk.
Pheromonic projection. Some Terramorphs, they can induce this fog. It affects everyone differently, but some people just lose control, turn against everyone around them, even if they don't want to. They're like a puppet. You kill the morph, you break the hold. But this means we're gonna need to be real careful with our fire. And keep that EM weapon at the ready. Let's do it.
That's unlocked. Please, do what you can to help them.
Evacuation order has been issued for the spaceport district. All citizens are required to proceed to the nearest shelter.
Okay, it's not real.
You might back up. Don't just stand there. Good.
Captain, you're going to be okay. It's not real. Whatever you're experiencing right now, it's
Wait,
not
officer?
real. We have to put down that morgue.
Take whatever we can get right now. We've got the remaining creatures locked down on the landing pad. We're barely holding our perimeter. They said you've done this before. Well, one fire team to spare and whatever supplies you need, but I can't risk them taking over any more men. Put those things down and do it fast. We'll hold them as best we can.
Heard you might be looking for some backup. You say the word, we're out there on your 6.
You two have any experience with terramorphs before?
Only the brief they just gave on the way here. But we know how to handle pressure.
Surviving a full-on mental assault isn't the same as keeping your cool in a firefight. Might make you more liability than asset.
We're not UC security. You don't need to worry about us. Your call. We're on the line.
Guess they weren't kidding about you two. Universe put the right people in the right place.
Like hell it is. I don't want to think what would have happened if you two hadn't been here.
Just glad we could rise to the occasion. Captain, we should report back to the President. Let her know the Terramorphs have been dealt with. Take care of yourself, Sergeant.
Thank you, gentlemen. Let your people all know how much we owe them today.
Yes, ma'am.
Ah, there you are. I believe we have some things we should discuss.
I'm quite busy, so if you'll excuse me.
Captain? Hadrian? It would appear that the Cabinet owes you our thanks for what you did for the city today. As well as an apology. Your concerns about the Terramorphs, well, consider them validated.
Thank you, ma'am.
Of course. I only wish we could have acted sooner. Now, today's events have only clarified our path forward in the eyes of the Cabinet. You will have our full support in collecting the Terramorph data from the archives, as well as a subsequent investigation into the nature of these attacks. But to accomplish those goals, we're going to need the right people in the right places. As such, the Cabinet has authorized me to reinstate you, Hadrian, effective immediately, to your former rank of Major. As soon as we've got the data in hand, we want you investigating these attacks and how to stop them. Will you do this?
Yes. Yes, ma'am. I'd be honored.
Excellent. But as you've both made clear, for such an investigation to succeed first, we're going to need someone to convince the Freestar Collective and House Varun to play ball. Someone who knows precisely the sorts of dangers the colonies and all the galaxy are facing right now. The Cabinet wants you, Captain, to be that representative. We do. In exchange, we're willing to fast-track your citizenship upon collection of the data. So, will you help us? I'm glad to hear it. Now, we, of course, won't be sending you in without the proper support. Deputy McIntyre in the Office of Interstellar Affairs will be your guide on gaining access to the archives. You should be able to find her in her office across the hall. And on behalf of the whole of the United Colonies, you have our thanks. You're dismissed.
My appointment's fixed. Maybe another...
I'm gonna go check in with Chief Engineer Kulkarni. Start getting a plan together for that table.
By the way, Captain,
I'm far too
Sergeant
busy to
Union was
talk
looking
right now.
for you. Sounds like he's got more work.
Excuse me.
Just doesn't add up. Spaceport has anti-Xena protocols. How the hell...
Hello.
Sarah Morgan. It's been, what, almost 10 years?
Admiral, it's, good to see you again, sir.
You're not required to address me as sir. That protocol ended the moment you dropped your clusters on my desk, remember?
Look, Admiral, I'm not here to open old wounds.
Old wounds is an interesting turn of phrase, given our past. Listen to me, Commander. I'm not sure why you're here, but whatever it is, why don't you just get to it?
I'm here because I need your help, Admiral.
You need my help. That's interesting. The last time we spoke, you made it quite clear that you were turning your back on the Navy.
That was a decade ago. Things change. People change. Admiral, please. I didn't come here to argue. I'm here to come to terms with my past.
Your past is sitting in a closed file in the archives. That's where you left it when you walked out on the United Colonies. And what about you? Just who in the blazes are you anyway? Very well. Then, as a good friend, perhaps you could kindly explain to me why I shouldn't have the both of you escorted from the building.
With all due respect, Admiral, this is ridiculous. If you have a problem with me, then there's no need to berate my colleague.
I don't have a problem with you, Commander. I'm simply trying to determine why you deserve the Navy's help. That's quite a noble gesture. Is this true, Commander?
It's about Cassiopeia, Admiral. I'm heading back there to find out what happened to the crew of the Dauntless, and hopefully, to bring their legacy home.
That sounds like a dangerous operation. Are you certain it's worth the risk?
I don't know.
I see. The fact that you'd risk your own lives to solve this mystery speaks volumes.
They were my responsibility, Admiral. One way or another, I intend to bring them home.
I understand. And I believe I owe you an apology, Commander. Our last encounter has obviously distorted my impression of your character. What can I do to help?
If you wouldn't mind allowing me to access the files regarding my rescue, I'd be most grateful, Admiral.
That shouldn't be too difficult. I've sent all the relevant information to you, Slades. Was there anything else?
No, Admiral. Thank you.
You don't need to thank me, Commander. I just hope you find whatever it is you're looking for.
Ah, crime has slowed down since you started. I do. Thanks to you, the spaceport is up and running again, which is good for commerce, but also for smugglers. We've received a tip that someone has been bringing in contraband into New Atlantis through the spaceport, and we need to investigate. Well, technology-wise, criminals have always been one step ahead. No different now than it was centuries ago. Smugglers often have a fancy shielding or scan jammers that allow them to evade it. But luckily, we can still use old-fashioned detective work to track these criminals down. The whole department is in the process of recovering, myself included. If I'm being honest, I still have nightmares of my team turning on one another. Things can be replaced and wounds can be healed, but building back that trust in each other is going to take time. Luckily, we've built a good culture here, and we hired some new recruits who were inspired by what you did. I've got faith we'll survive this. Great. First, speak to one of the technicians over by Landing Pad B. Ask them if they've noticed any suspicious activity. Once you've gotten a lead, cross-reference their testimony with ship records over at Aegis. When you're done, report back to me with your findings. See you later. All unit behavior.
Yeah? Can't say I have. When you a job like this, you see so many ships. They all sort of blend together. Nope. I just keep my head down and do my job. Speaking of which, I better get back to it.
Hi there. Something I can do for you? It's about time. I've been telling my supervisor about that cargo ship for ages. I'm beginning to think he was ignoring me. It's the way the crew handled the cargo. They were being way too delicate. The manifest said they were carrying potatoes, spuds. I don't know what was in those crates, but it certainly wasn't that. That's the problem. I don't really look at the ship names when I work, just the ID number granted for clearance. I think it was UC576B. I do know it's a cargo class transport, if that helps. If you'll excuse me.
I can't believe I'm here. It feels like walking into a dream. Thank you. Right now, I feel like I need all the help that I can get. Phew. Okay, so, let me get my bearings for a moment. Yes, this looks correct. Those rock formations nearby look familiar. My old campsite shouldn't be far. Yes, exactly. Since most of my gear was destroyed, I depended on those landmarks to orient myself while I was stranded. Once we get to the campsite, we'll use that as a starting point to search for the cruise shuttle wreckage. Let's go. Got anything on your scanner? This must be some debris from my shuttle. Not exactly a textbook landing, but I didn't have much of a choice. Well, this is it. This is the spot where I spent close to a year waiting for rescue. Not exactly Paradiso, is it? It was difficult and painful, but it kept me alive. It was home. Look at this thing. It's been sitting here rusting. I think we need to grab an emergency power cell to get the ship's computer up and running. Cute. When I was stranded, I set up a distress beacon powered by emergency power cells. The beacon was up there on the plateau. I guess it's time to start climbing.
Gonna make you pay.
Setting up this beacon probably saved my life. Who knows how long I would have been stranded here. We've located where the other shuttle went down. I can't believe our plan worked. Yeah, I suppose you're right. The telemetry data puts the wreckage out of range to hike. We're going to have to head back to the ship and land on a different part of the planet. Let's get going. Had I been on this planet under more pleasant circumstances, I might have had more time to appreciate the beauty it has to offer. Make sure you strip everything useful from that thing. Judging from this debris, the crew's shuttle sustained far more damage than my own. Oh, those poor souls. This is what's left of the crew's shuttle. But it looks like parts were scavenged and dragged somewhere else. Could there have been survivors? was still fresh. Is there someone here that's still alive?
Stop. I'll shoot if I have to. Just turn around and leave. I know how to use this thing, and I will.
Oh my god. Who are you?
I'm nobody. Just go away. I'm not going to let anyone take my stuff again. No way. Both of you, just go! Yeah, sure. Try and trick me. No. No way. I'm not getting fooled again. Forget it.
Stop it right now. Put away that gun and talk to us. We want to know what happened here.
See? You're not nice at all. I knew it. You're a liar. That's all grown-ups do is lie.
What? Oh. Yeah. Right. Exactly. I was wrong to get so angry. We are here to help you. And we promise to tell the truth.
I don't know. You're kind of scaring me. Why should I listen to you? The crew? No one's been looking for that crew since before I was born. So tell me another lie. Go ahead.
You were born here? Hold on. Oh my god. Your parents, your mum and your dad, what were their names?
Jenna and Elias. Why?
Jenna and Elias. Private Jenna Marsh and Corporal Elias Obrist. You're their daughter. Listen to me. I knew your parents. They worked with me on the Dauntless. I'm Commander Sarah Morgan.
You're Sarah Morgan? Mom and Dad's captain? My parents used to talk about you all the time. It's like a dream to finally meet you. My parents told me she was in command of their ship in a huge battle. They said she was a hero and the bravest person they ever knew. I know this is Cassiopeia. I've been here since I was born. I know my mother and father were from Gemsun or something like that. I bet it's like 1,000 miles away. Yeah? Well, you're too late. My parents are dead. My father died a long time ago. And my mother, she was killed by those monsters at the graveyard. It's just me here now. All by myself.
Let me ask you a question. Actually, I don't even know your name.
Oh, yeah. My name's Sona.
Sona. What a lovely name. Sona, you mentioned a graveyard. Is that where the crew is, you know?
Buried? Yeah. It's a bunch of stones with those necklaces like the ones my mom and dad had hanging on them.
Thank you, Sona. I'm going to talk to my friend here a minute, okay?
Okay, Sarah.
Phew. I don't even know where to begin. Whew. Yeah. That's probably good advice. There's so much to process. But I don't have time to deal with it right now. If you want to help, then find that graveyard and bring me those necklaces Sona mentioned. I'm hoping they're my crew's gene tags. It's an identification tag worn by UC military personnel. It's encoded with the soldiers' medical information and a sample of their DNA. If we can bring them back to Jemison, it would be like bringing home the crew's bodies for a proper burial. Good. Just be careful. Sona's monsters are undoubtedly hostile life forms that have claimed the graveyard as their territory. Sona, calm down and listen to me. It's much too dangerous to stay here all by yourself, darling.
I don't care. This is my home. You can't make me leave.
We can't leave her here. It's not safe. She has to come back with us to Jemison. Oh, I don't know what to do. Can you talk to her? I know. I'm not proposing we knock her out for God's sake. Look, maybe you can talk some sense into her. Help her make a decision. I'm sorry, I can't do this right now.
I can hear you talking about me. And I don't care what either of you say. I'm not going anywhere.
Look, I'm clearly out of my element here and not in the right state of mind. Could you just talk to her, please?
Why won't Sarah listen to me? Mom told me 1,000 times that it wasn't Sarah's fault that that I'm stuck here. That still doesn't mean I should leave the only home I ever had, does it? Mom and Dad told me there was a whole universe out there, with thousands of planets. They showed me the maps and the star charts. That does sound pretty cool, but, well, it's also kind of scary. It would be hard to leave the only home I've ever known. Well, I've always dreamed of finding a place that's safe from the monsters. But leaving Mom and Dad behind, it's really hard. Even though they're dead, I don't want to abandon them. Hey, yeah. Maybe I could get a cool ship just like yours. I'm sorry I yelled at everybody. I know you and Sarah are just trying to help. I'm going to go get my stuff and then I'll board your ship. Don't worry, I'll stay out of the way until we get, well, wherever we're going.
That poor girl. I hope we've made the right decision. I realize that, but there's still cause for concern. We're ripping Sona from the only home she's ever known, and casting her back into society. It's going to be difficult for her to adjust to the changes. Wherever she ends up, just promise me we'll check on her from time to time, please. Thank you. Look, before we leave Cassiopeia behind, I wanted to say one more thing to you. Perhaps at the overlook we passed on the way here? I promise it won't take long. Let's go. Look, before we head back to the ship, I wanted to tell you how much of an amazing gift this has been. You had to push me to come out here, and if I hadn't have listened to you, the universe would probably have never known about that little girl. Oh, yes, absolutely. And it's all thanks to you. You know, this is the second time I've been on this world. And until this very moment, I never stopped to reflect at just how magnificent it was. Oh, look at this place. This is the reason I'm out here, exploring the stars. Worlds upon worlds, just waiting to have their beauty discovered. Shedding this burden of my past has finally allowed me to open my eyes, wider than they've ever been opened before. And it's all because of you. Better than the old one, I hope. Well, I suppose it's time to bid goodbye to Cassiopeia once again. This time, under much happier circumstances. Now, let's head back to Jemison. I want to give those gene tags you gathered to Admiral Logan, and figure out what we're going to do with Sona.